If you look at the stock market right now, there's really only one king, right? Nvidia. And everyone tells you just buy Nvidia. But what if that's actually the wrong move? Today, we're going to dive into why my second largest position is a big bet against that king. So that brings up the big question, doesn't it? Is Nvidia really the only game in town for the AI revolution? The market sure acts like it, but I believe there's a huge force at play here that most investors are just completely missing. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. As you can see right here from my own portfolio, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm betting over 17,000 pounds that the answer is a hard no. My money is on the challenger, Advanced Micro Devices, or AMD. Okay, so let's dig into this. To really get this bet, we first have to understand why betting against Nvidia feels so crazy to begin with. And it all comes down to their monopoly, which seems, totally unbreakable. In this slide, wow, it just shows you how staggering their control really is. We're talking a 90% market share in AI chips, and look at those gross margins, 80%. These numbers are exactly why the conventional wisdom is just, hey, buy Nvidia. They are the king, no question. But here's the thing, this goes against my core investment philosophy. In my family office, I make it a rule not to buy kings when they're priced for perfection. When a stock's price already assumes nothing will ever go wrong, any tiny little hiccup can cause a massive crash. I'd much rather buy the challengers, where all that pessimism is already baked into the price. All right, so this brings us to the real heart of my argument. It's not about AMD's technology being better. Not at all. It's about a fundamental, powerful rule that big tech absolutely lives and dies by. It's called the second source imperative. And that rule is supply chain security. Think about it. If you are a massive company, I'm talking Meta, Microsoft, Google, the absolute last thing you ever want is to be 100% dependent on a single supplier for something you critically need. It gives them all the power. They set the price, they control the supply. It's a terrifying place to be. And to see just how big of a deal this is, look at this number. Put yourself in Mark Zuckerberg's shoes for a second. Your company, Meta, is planning to spend $30 billion a year on AI hardware. Would you just hand over all of that power and money to one supplier? No way. You need another option. I don't need AMD to kill Nvidia. I just need them to grab a few crumbs. Because in this market, those crumbs are worth billions. And that is exactly why I also own Meta. It's a linked position. You have to see them as two sides of the same coin. In my portfolio, Meta represents the demand. They're the huge customer with billions to spend, and they have a massive incentive. You can call it the greed of big tech, to make sure a competitor to Nvidia exists just to keep prices in check. And then you flip the coin, and what do you have? You have AMD. They're the supply. They are the company that big tech needs to thrive. So my bet isn't just on AMD's tech, it's a bet on the powerful self-interest of companies like Meta. I own both the demand and the supply. All right, so the business case makes sense. But what about the price? What are the stocks actually telling us? This is where the opportunity really starts to come into focus. It's a classic fight between hype and skepticism. So I didn't want to just go on a hunch. I wanted to see the data. I fired up my AI agent, Mary Jane, and I gave her a simple prompt. I asked her to compare the two using the PEG ratio, which is just a fancy way of asking, is this stock cheap for how fast it's growing? And the question was simple. Which one has more optimism baked into its price? And the answer that came back, well, it was fascinating, and it totally confirmed my thesis. Nvidia is priced for absolute perfection. The market thinks it can walk on water. But AMD, it's priced with a ton of skepticism. The market still remembers their past failures, so the bar is set incredibly low. And in investing, I will always choose to buy skepticism over perfection. And this is so important to understand. My 17,000-pound bet isn't really about which chip is technically better today. It's a financial play on risk versus reward. For Nvidia, the bar is set sky high. If they have one bad quarter, the stock could plummet. For AMD, the bar is on the floor. If they just manage to meet those low expectations, the stock has massive potential to run. Okay, but let's be real. I'm not wearing rose-colored glasses here. There's a huge risk. There's a very good reason Nvidia is the king, and we have to stare that reason right in the face. It's called the CUDA moat. So what is CUDA? It's Nvidia's software. You can think of it like Windows or Mac OS, but for AI. For years, pretty much every single developer has learned to code on CUDA. This creates this massive, sticky advantage for Nvidia. The software is their true fortress, maybe even more than the hardware.
So I asked Mary Jane, what's the one thing that could completely kill this thesis? And her answer was pretty brutal. She said, developers hate ROC. That's AMD's software alternative. And she pointed out that if the engineers, the people actually building this stuff, refuse to switch, then it doesn't matter how cheap or available AMD's chips are. Nobody will use them. That's the central risk right there.
But, and this is a huge but, there is a massive catalyst in play that directly takes on this risk. And guess where it's coming from? Yep, the customer. Meta is not just sitting around waiting, they are actively building a bridge over that CUDA moat themselves. And here's how they're doing it. It's all about a framework called PyTorch, which Meta helps lead. Basically, they are rewriting the core code with one goal, to make it hardware agnostic. What that means is the new code will run efficiently on any chip, whether it's from Nvidia or AMD. Meta is solving AMD's biggest software problem for them because it's in their own financial best interest to do so. Okay, we've looked at the monopoly price, the second source imperative, the valuation gap, and the biggest risk along with the catalyst that's working to solve it. So what's the final verdict on this position? What's the plan? For me, the decision is clear. It's option C, hold and monitor. I am not selling a single share of AMD to go chase Nvidia's high price. I firmly believe that this huge wealth transfer from a chip monopoly to a duopoly is really just getting started, and I want to be there for that shift. And just so you can see where this all fits into the bigger picture, here's how the portfolio is structured. I've got my anchor, which is Sophie. I've got my chip bet, which is this AMD position. And then I have what I call the rocket ship plays, like Nebius.
And speaking of rocket ships, man, my position in Nebius is up over 400%, which brings up a really tough question. Is it time to lock in those gains and sell before the inevitable shareholder dilution hits? We are going to tackle that very question and the next explainer.